And do you feel it? Said, do you feel it when you touch me? Said, do you feel it when you cut me? There's a fire. Well, it's a fire. Just a burning, just a dreaming, just a burning, just a dreaming, just a dreaming. Yeah, it's hard not to think drugs. I mean, it really is.
Hey, everybody out there. Welcome back to another episode of the Audiophiles. I'm Andy. That's John. Hell yeah. And it is time to dig into some music as we are wont to do here on the channel. John, you're going to be offering up something for me to go off and check out, man. What do you have in store?
So we're back to the Stooges, and we're back to the album Funhouse and a track called Doit.
Doit?
Oh, as you say in over on this side of the pond, dirt.
Dirt. Yeah. We say dirt in most locations on the side of the pond as well.
I thought you always pronounce it Doit.
Yeah, maybe in the Northeast you'll find some Doit. Yeah, Doit. That's a time that's long past, I think. I'd love to know when the line of demarcation was when we stopped talking like that. You know what I mean? Like, yeah, see, yeah, Doit, yeah. I don't know when it was, but we don't do that anymore here, and it's a shame. But
92, 93, somewhere around there.
Sure, yeah. Around about when I was 10, everyone started talking differently. Yeah, so I will go off and give Dirt by the Stooges a spin, and then I'll come back and let you know what I think. Interesting sound. That's kind of dirty, and I like it. Just from the way that bass kind of sauntered in, and then that itchy sounding guitar. Oh, I love that. All right, let's hear that again. This is like dirty blues, but it through an even grimier kind of like New York street punk like lens. Sounds really good. I can actually hear the sort of the Iggy Bowie Venn diagram. It's the middle is shining here for sure, because at times he almost sounds Bowie-esque.
feel it when you touch me? Said, do you feel it when you touch me? There's a fire. There's a fire. Yeah, alright. Love. Inside. I'm just a bit. It's just all. It's just all. It's just all. It's just all. Do you feel it? Say, do you feel it when you touch me? Say, do you feel it when you touch me? But it's a fire. But it's a fire. Just just all. Just all. Just all. Just all.
Yeah, that was a lot of fun. It's so easy to get lost in songs like that. It does have a repetitive nature to it, but it's sort of this unrelenting mechanism of the rhythm section to just kind of keep this going. And it's not cut and paste the same throughout, but it is written around a lot of the same the tempo, time signature. It's all very bluesy, which is in its of itself a kind of repetitive genre, but there are like variations a little bit in the bass work and the drums that give it like a different angle through which you can look at the same picture that's like happening in an auditory sense, right? And I really loved that because it was almost kind of word that we've used so many times over the years here at the Audiophiles, but it's very hypnotic. And it can kind of like pull you into the track. And then through that, or whenever you need a respite, you can catch all the terrific work that the guitar is doing, and even the interesting affectation throughout certain parts of the vocal delivery as well. I mean, I caught some of these lyrics, but not all of them. And while some parts to my ear on one and only one listen are somewhat indiscernible, it's still interesting to listen to, and it adds like character to the song. This was I mentioned it earlier, and I just alluded to the blues a moment ago, but this is a very blues centered track. But like I mentioned, there's a little bit of that like late 70s, early 80s kind of grime, New York City kind of grime to this. It's got a little bit of that going on, that Lower East Side grit. I don't think this could have been written and recorded anywhere outside of there, but it just has that kind of sound to it, which I really appreciate, the kind of combination of those two sounds together. And for a song, a song whose title is Dirt, I found interesting that I think you hear that pretty early on, but words and allusions to like the fire and burn I heard more often than I did dirt. But I suppose when this song has that kind of dirty aesthetic to it, you couldn't really pick a better name. I caught some, but not all of the lyrics, and I'm not truly sure of what he's talking about here with this sort of fire inside. And he's been dirt, and he's been hurt, but he don't care. Interesting stuff, but I don't know what it all like sort of equals up to. Regardless of that, I had a lot of fun listening to this kind of dark blues number, and I'm interested to learn more about it and sort of the timeline of these guys and when it came out. So let's go back and discuss this one some more with John.
Chattanooga Choo Choo is back. So you had to listen to Doit by the Stooges. Tell us what you thought.
Well, this was a lot of fun. It was really interesting because it was like this. I got two different sounds from this. I got blues, but I also got this extra shade of like Lower East Side grime and grit to it as well. So it's kind of like blues through that lens, which is interesting to think about. And it just took me to that era of that CBGB New York, but like someone's doing a blues set there. And it starts with this slight buildup by the drums that blossoms into a steady beat that sort of kicks things off, and it's accompanied by a moment of this suction like sound, this like inhale, this tight inhale, or like a wince. Then comes this leisurely played bass line and some clipped guitar that occasionally culminates in string bends and winds here and there. I love that scratchy, itchy nature of the guitar. It does it a couple times throughout this song, but I love that clipped sound of it. Also, the bass line in this is wildly infectious. For all of its like sauntering and sort of like it's not lazy, but it is a bit lackadaisical. It's not like, rapid or in your face, but it's just swaggery. And I love that about the bass line. So yes, this leisurely played bass line, these clipped guitar motifs, all really nice. Iggy then lends his vocals to the track as he repeats, "Oh, I've been dirt and I don't care." So I guess that's like his way of saying like I've been considered low and that doesn't bother me, or I've been judged or placed in this category, and it's like I don't care about that. Then the guitar motif switches to these brighter picked through bits of notation as the guitar leads us into the next portion with Iggy singing of this burning and yearning inside before proclaiming that it's the fire of life, I believe is what I call it. There were certain points where talk about affectations and stuff like that. He definitely does a bit of that throughout this, where yes, that is detrimental to the comprehension of the words that he's saying, but it enhances the feel and the mood of the song. So I don't even give a shit. It just sounded good when he did it. And if I didn't catch a few words here and there, big fucking deal. That's what you're here for, John, to iron all that out for me. After which, the music is allowed to circulate and breathe for about 15 seconds or so before he interjects with a, yeah, all right. Then signals the song's return to the verse portion, and that again, this is where that clipped guitar makes an appearance. That itchy little clipped guitar, I fucking love it. And it's like tickling the guitar sound. And I'm just for a second, and I really do appreciate that. And this time around, Iggy repeats the line, "Oh, I've been hurt, and I don't care," before again shifting to that part where he sings, "'Cause I'm burning inside," followed by another line I don't really catch because of that interesting inflection that he uses, but I think he punctuates it with "this life." He then asks if you feel and repeats, "Said, do you feel it when you touch me?" Followed by, "There's a fire. It's a fire." So I will take his word for it that there is, in fact, a fire. Then a drum roll and a howl by Pop gives way to a stellar guitar lead, just ripe with plenty of these string bends and wails and wah-laden sounds over top of this steady bass line and beat. Another drum roll hits, and the lead guitar warbles its way to completion, and the musical waters are now calmer as Pop hurriedly scans the lyrics under his breath, kind of in such a way that I can't make out what he's saying. I like how he sounds. I just can't make out what it is that he's saying here. But that's fleeting as he returns to the more discernible delivery, asking again, "Do you feel it?" Said, "Do you feel it when you touch me? When there's fire, well, there's fire." Then, via shaky wah-infused guitar, the languid bass motif, and a very laid-back drum work that every so often comes to life with some excellent rolls, the song progresses until its end. I really enjoyed the near unwavering nature of the rhythmic style of this tune. Sort of through its repetition, it creates this unmitigated approach to the song's progression. And this allowed for the guitar at times to inject these really interesting, subtle bits of accent work, as well as that in your face lead guitar motif. Even like just, I know it, though the rhythm section was repetitive, the bass work was moving around enough on the neck to kind of keep everything fresh. And even so much that during that lead, after the first, I don't know, 20, 15 seconds of that lead, I started to then hyperfixate on what the bass was doing underneath of that, which was a lot of fun. And it was interesting to hear both those kind of held together. I want to go back and listen to that part again twice, once focusing on each part, because I really enjoyed both of what they're doing, but I had to like sort of balance and jump between the two. So the I think that the song itself, it lyrically, it mentioned the word dirt twice, and that was through repetition. But in the song, I heard fire multiple times, as well as this allusion to burning. So I just thought that the choice of the title was interesting, even though it did have a dirty blues feel to it. So the name could be, I suppose, is incredibly apropos, even if the lyrics leaned more into the whole burning fire, allusion. But yeah, I thought it was cool and dark sounding. And I just thought it was, I don't know, I just thought it was interesting to hear this blues early garage fusion. So I'll be interested to hear what year this was, because in my mind I was just thinking, oh, this is like mid 70s or something like that. And that era of New York was what was coming to mind. But that doesn't mean I'm right. You know what I mean? And it doesn't even mean that the song has anything to do with New York. It just has that aesthetic to it and the feel. But please tell me a bit more about this one, John.
Okay, thanks for that, Andy. So previous episode we covered TDI, by the Stooges. I'll put a link into that episode below. I talk a lot more about the formation of the band, etc. So I won't focus on that. I'll just focus on this song. So this is from the Stooges' second album, Funhouse, which was released in July 1970.
Jesus, that's it.
So
you know what's
really
weird?
early.
Very early. I mean, fuck, 4 months before this, Let It Be dropped or something like that. You know what I mean? So it's wild to think that Let It Be and this album came out in the same year. For me, it is, anyway, as a sort of looking back and not having lived that, it's just, I was thinking, 74, 75, something like that. But yeah, go on. I'm sorry.
Yeah, so it is really interesting. And I will say this before I get into it. Couple of things. So this sound, this album actually kind of signifies to me through what you're talking about. It's like the end of the hippie dream. And there's a few songs that do it, and it's really interesting. And it starts really on the West Coast with someone like the Doors, actually, where you start to feel the end of that peace and love, free love, all the lovely vibes, and it slowly turns towards violence and unrest and the seedier side of life as it all comes, that utopia comes crashing down. And you hear that in the music, and this is one of those ones, I think, really interesting. There's this menace to this whole album.
It's interesting you say that because, like, yeah, I instantly think, like, what societally could have set that off? Like, because the hippie movement was a societal response to things and changes that wanted to be made here. What could take that mindset and turn it on? Well, the biggest sort of stalwart for the peace movement was Martin Luther King, and another one was RFK. And they were both assassinated a year and a half before this album dropped. And that's probably about the time it takes for a complete devolution or transition in mentality to change. And this is maybe it's a coincidence that those things coincide, or that this is a byproduct of those things having happened and where the culture stood in the face of the peace movement kind of failing. Which is sad to admit, you know what I mean?
I think the other thing as well would be the sort of the drug culture coming through.
Yeah.
It's very sort of recreational in that proper sense of the word. People didn't have a clue. Were playing about LSD, was coming through, all sorts of things. And then it became monetarized, and then it became structured. And then when you got these huge potential profits, you get violence involved as well.
Yeah.
So all those sort of things. Really interesting.
Drugs were getting heavier, you know what I mean? It was like Dylan introducing the Beatles to weed 6 years before, and then LSD made its appearance in mid to late 60s, and now we've got people shooting up and shit like that, you know what I mean? So it's more of that devolutionary thing.
And again, although all the jazz freaks were doing it in the 40s,
yes,
they never. It seems that this part of the culture didn't learn from that, and so it was still relatively new for them. And you got these massive loads of ODs everywhere because it was just this new toy, as it were, which is really interesting. And we could do a couple of hours on that alone. Yeah. Anyway, back to this. The other thing I would say briefly is this track in particular, out of all the Stooges track for me, I find when I first heard it, it was almost transformative in terms of my musical appreciation and taste. There's a few tracks down the years which I've listened to that was stopped me dead and maybe rethink things from an early age. Listening to Yesterday for the first time really sort of blew my mind away. Anarchy in the UK, all sorts of stuff. Boom, Boom, Boom by Johnny Hooker, all that sort of thing, And this is one of them. I just thought it was amazing when I first heard it. So to recap, Iggy Pop vocals, Ron Ashton guitar, David Alexander bass, and Scott Ashton drums. On this album also was Steve McKay, who played tenor sax on three tracks, 1970 Funhouse and LA Blues. So this is some blurb I found, which I agree with. So that's why I'm using it. Dirt is the centerpiece track of the Stooges' 1970 album Funhouse. People will argue that. I won't. It is widely considered one of the band's most hypnotic and atmospheric tracks, marking a sharp departure from the high-energy proto-punk aggression found elsewhere on the record. I like you reference CBGBs, etc. You can see now how Stooges are cited as a massive influence on that scene,
Yeah.
sort of 5 years before, as it were, they're putting this stuff out. And most of the stuff really relates to that. And this is a different sound in terms of different pace compared to everything else on the album, which again sort of draws me towards it. So the song is built on a, in quotes, irresistible descending bass line from Dave Alexander, which reportedly appropriates the melody of Albert King's Born Under a Bad Sign. I do know that song, but I can't think how the bass goes. But that's really interesting and
Yeah.
kind of makes sense in that bluesy feel, you know. Critics describe the track as a heavy metal dirge or a slow and prodding jam. It creates a druggy, ominous atmosphere that taps into a sense of alienation. Production is praised for capturing a subtle, cool side of Iggy Pop that is often overlooked. Modern reviews frequently cite Dirt as a highlight of Funhouse, an album often called the greatest rock and roll album ever recorded. It's a wild claim, but there you go. There's a website called the West Review who wrote this. Funhouse is intensely different to anything else the Stooges ever released, and while many current punk and alternative bands riff on the band's first and third albums, it's very rare to find anyone attempting to riff on the heroin/amphetamine-fueled nightmare that Funhouse is. Back in the 60s, punk rock stayed firmly in the garage, with only a few bands managing to move and get some notoriety. It wasn't until the tail end of the 60s and everybody's hippie fantasy was being destroyed that punk began to emerge, proto-punk, and the Stooges rode to the forefront of that particular wave. There had been experimentation with punk in the avant-garde scene in New York with the likes of Velvet Underground and whatever it was Andy Warhol was doing, but it was mainly in the form of art rock. The Stooges took the avant-garde sounds of the Velvet Underground and ran with them, created something far more brutal, terrifying than anything before. While the Stooges are certainly more likely to be remembered for this brutality, they still managed to occasionally produce some killer hooks and riffs, even if they were hidden under a wall of sonic distortion. Ron Ashton's piercing guitar, Dave Alexander's chugging bass lines, and Scott Ashton's thundering drums provide the groundwork for Iggy to create the imagery and the story of depravity. Funhouse is, to me, and I'm sure most fans agree, their best album. It captures the spirit of the times perfectly, with all the menace and savagery that's going on in the background of the world brought to the front. As I've said multiple times through this, it's a brutal listen, but one you won't be able to get claws out of you for a long time after the needle has lifted. It's funny, it must be subconsciously, but lots of words in that write-up we've been speaking about already. It's just, there you go. Vocal performance is absolutely fantastic, and as they've mentioned before, it's a different side to his normal sort of growl and shout and holler. There's this, again, this sort of even softness to his voice, but with menace as well.
Yeah,
it was really interesting.
What I noticed as well in this, you might disagree with me, and I would defer to your judgment on this, given you're more familiar with who I'm about to compare him to. But this is really where I saw the similarities to Bowie. In his vocal
I knew you were going to say that.
Yeah, did you? Okay, because I said it during the reaction as well. It's like, this is like the Bowie, the pop Venn diagram, and we're firmly in the overlap here as far as the vocal approach to this, and kind of the extending of certain words and stuff like that just reminded me. It had shades of Bowie to it, is all I'm saying. So I picked up on it this time around.
I think, and I'm not sure on this, but I think this is prior to them meeting.
Yeah.
Really interesting. But you can see how they can be drawn to each other.
Yeah, and being drawn, exactly. This is one of the things that would spark curiosity in the other, to learn more about them or to introduce themselves or whatever. You know what I mean? To spark that path crossage. I could see this being a song that would have perked up ears.
Yeah. I mean, they could have, but I don't know, but that's what I think. Anyway, so the lyrics. Oh, I've been dirt, and I don't care. Oh, I've been dirt, and I don't care, 'cause I'm burning inside. I'm just a yearning inside, and I'm the fire of life. Yeah, all right. Oh, I've been hurt. I don't care. Oh, I've been hurt, and I don't care, 'cause I'm burning inside. I'm just a dreaming this life. Do you feel it? So do you feel it when you touch me? So do you feel it when you touch me? There's a fire. Well, it's a fire. Yeah, all right. Ah, play it for me, babe, with love. I was just a little burning inside. I was just a little burning, just a dreaming, just a dreaming. I was just a dreaming. I was just a dreaming. And do you feel it? Said, do you feel it when you touch me? Said, do you feel it when you cut me? There's a fire. Well, it's a fire. Just a burning, just a dreaming, just a burning, just a dreaming, just a dreaming. Yeah, it's hard not to take drugs. I mean, it really is. And abuse, well, that abuse is third party or self-abuse. It's which, he's famous for both as well. So, it's there, but it's really sort of all wrapped up this sort of fire and smoke swirling as well, dimly lit. It's really interesting stuff.
Yeah. It
So
is.
there's a critic called Abigail DeVoe. It's a bit of her own ass, but she writes sometimes some good
She's
stuff.
a critic, so that's part
Yeah,
of the
exactly.
purpose.
So they said, dirt is driven through the mud and immaculate murk by a rhythm section. It's stoned and it's sleazy. I love how the drum patterns start at the top of the circle. It flips the whole song on its head. Again, not unlike a funhouse mirror. Ron's interjections are the sandpaper that grits up Dave's slithering bass line. The guitar solo is dirty water. It all feels like something slimy crawling up your leg. This is the ultimate Stooges attitude. I'm dirt and I don't care. I've been hurt and I don't care. I'm burning inside. And she's put in brackets, it's not supposed to hurt when you pee, man. Either way, this is the soundtrack to a man slicing himself up in front of you to let out whatever poison is within, then humping my leg.
I was tempted to make a couple penicillin jokes throughout it when he talked about the burning, but I held back. I assume, like you said, the burning is like I don't know, like the addiction inside of him, maybe for like this dirt that he's putting inside of his body. It's interesting. It really is.
It is, because I mean, if you think about dirt, it's very much like weeds. It's about placement, isn't it? So a plant is a plant unless it's unwanted, and then it's a weed.
Yeah.
But if you want them, they're not weeds. And dirt is just earth, but it's in a place you don't want it, so it's then dirt.
Yeah. Right.
So it's really interesting, and that could be relate to them and their position in society. That's why they're dirt, because they're pretty much unwanted.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's just a thought. Final little musing from Far Out website, who also sort of talked about this track. The Stooges slow things down by the midpoint of the record. Dirt is an ode to their blues influences, with the iconic bass line provided by Dave Alexander forming the backbone of the track.
Yeah.
Although the song retains the same guitar shredding, sneering attitude, and occasional screeches from Iggy that characterize the rest of the album, Pop's voice feels more tender on Dirt. It is not dissimilar to the kind of vocal performance he would later employ on solo work like 1977's The Idiot, produced by David Bowie. Put simply, Funhouse is an absolute masterpiece. Even if we remove the incredible legacy of influence that it had on later generations, spawning punk, post-punk, and grunge, the brilliance of the album is clear in isolation. The Stooges are responsible for some of the greatest music of the late 60s and early 70s. But throughout their discography, they never really topped the electrifying energy of Funhouse. And I love the Stooges, and I love their first album, but I would agree with that writer there that this album is a top 10 album for me.
Yeah.
Really, really appreciate it.
Well, there's a case of the first album not being the best.
It's the really good bands that disprove that theory.
Yeah.
It's the average bands that don't.
That don't, exactly.
Radiohead, the Smiths, Pixies. Anyway, I would go on because I'll trip myself up. Anyway, so there you go. Doit by the Stooges. It's a great song, it's just a great song. And there you go.
Yeah.
I will wrap things up. Thanks for listening to this, Andy.
Thank you.
Folks out there, please tell us what you think. If you like this, do hit the like button and also drop some comments. We'd love to hear from you. Whatever point of view that may be. It's always interesting to read it. And we have enough space friendly space within our channel for all points of view. Apart from that one.
Yeah, that one's the worst.
No. And if you haven't subscribed already, what are you waiting for?
Come on.
If it's another Stooges one, it might be a while. But it might not. I don't know. But please, we do appreciate everybody to support the channel. So hop on board and help yourself to complimentary Kendall mint cakes. That being said, thanks so much for watching, and we'll see all of you on the next episode of the Audiophiles.
See you later, guys.